everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, with another Gay Gamer video podcast. This week, I went to the movies and I was able to get a ticket to see Sinners, and not just in IMAX, but I did manage, because the Lincoln Square IMAX theater sells out so quickly for things like this, but there was one seat, like kind of just off center in the middle, where like groups had bought their tickets, but somehow they left a seat in the middle, and I snatched that seat up, so I was able to see Sinners in 70mm IMAX, projected on actual film, which is great. The IMAX was amazing. Well, it's the way to see the movie. Certain scenes were shot with IMAX cameras in the full giant square floor-to-ceiling IMAX ratio, and it's very visually impressive. It's also just great to see movies projected on film again, with like dust and flecks and things. It gives it texture, because also the film itself has grain and texture. Like the shadows feel richer and deeper, and everything just feels more like a movie instead of the crap that they shoot digitally, which just looks too clean and pretty and crisp. And it was also nice to see something in 70mm IMAX that was actually a good movie, as opposed to the Joker sequel, which was the last one I saw like this. Sinners is about two twins, played by Michael B. Jordan, who return home from Chicago to their hometown in Mississippi, where they want to use their stolen goods from Chicago to open a juke joint with their old friends. And on opening night, some uninvited guests, or were they invited? They arrive and mayhem ensues. Bloody violence. I have to say, it's very good. I do have to admit that the setup could probably have stood to be a little bit shorter. There were times when I did, towards the end of the first hour or so, where I was like, can we get to it? Like, I was getting a little impatient. But then after this like amazing musical number that was even more amazing, I'm sure it's great in the widescreen Panavision, but in the full giant IMAX ratio, it was breathtaking and stunning. After that musical number, everything kicks off, and the back end is good enough to make up for the fact that you got a little impatient in the front end. I will say Michael B. Jordan is good. He's very good. He's a good actor. The problem is that the twins aren't entirely different. So there's not a lot he can do with they're only like slightly, it's not like there's a good twin and a bad twin. So he can't really do a whole lot with his performance to tell you which twin you're watching, which is probably why the movie puts one in a red hat and one in a blue hat for the first half of the movie, so you know which twin you're talking about, Smoke or Stack. And also there's, when you first see them, they're like leaning against a car and the camera like pans around them and stuff, and you're like, oh, clever visual digital trickery to make it look like they're in the same visual space. But then they pass a cigarette between each other a couple of times, and you're like, wow, that looked so real. Like, he's actually passing a cigarette to himself. And there's another show-off shot where like he follows a character across the street, and then you switch characters and they come back and it's all one unbroken shot. He's just showing off. But I will say that after the twins split up to go gather their friends and set up to open their juke joint, when they come back together again, there's no more of that show-off trick photography, and they feel like two distinct characters who are just in a movie together, and you don't notice the twinning as much, which I thought was very cool. But yeah, it's really great. There is like, it ends and then the credits start, but there's still footage in the credits, and the lights in the theater didn't come up, so I was like, you give me something to watch in the credits, like extra footage or artwork or something, I will stay seated for that, because someone did that, and I want to say, I will watch what you did. I won't ignore it. But, and then of course there was a mid-credits scene, and I was like, oh God, don't ruin the ending. Don't ruin the ending. Don't ruin the ending. And they didn't. So I was like, okay, good. And then the scroll started and the lights came up, so I left. And there were a bunch of people who weren't leaving, and I should have taken that as a clue, because I later found out there's also an end credit sequence. I read what it is, and it's not as important as the mid-credit sequence, which continues the story, but the mid-credits is like an epilogue kind of thing. But then there's another sequence at the end of the credits, which I'm not really sure what it's supposed to be or what it's supposed to mean. I'll have to find out when I watch it again and stay for the credits. But definitely stayed for the whole credits, apparently. Don't make the mistake I did. And if you can see it in IMAX, go see it in IMAX, because the aspect ratio the changes are very effective. But if you can't, it's still a good movie. And I'll be curious to stream it on Max or something and see if it still works when it's all cropped widescreen wide and it doesn't go boom in your face. As for games, as I mentioned last week, I've been playing my chill games like Disney and Nikki, and not games that are going to stress me out. I want to just relax. I have enough real life stress right now. I don't need to game and get stressed out over games. And because what happened is last week I was playing Starfield and I finished a mission. I said, okay, let me go do the end of the Freestar Ranger quest. So I go to do that, and unfortunately I go to the planet, but I can't land on the planet until I finish fighting some spaceships. And as I have mentioned in previous episodes, I suck at the space combat in Starfield. So after 3 or 4 tries and dying and blowing up constantly, I can get the first 2 ships, but then my ship is damaged enough that when the next 2 ships come up, I get blown up almost immediately. And apparently there's 2 more ships after this, because I checked to make sure, because sometimes you go to a planet and they're like ships and they attack you, but they're just random pirate ships, and if you go away and come back, they won't be there. This is part of the mission. You have to do the space combat. And I suck at the space combat. So I'm sort of like, fuck. And so I left and I went back to New Atlantis to regroup and figure out what I wanted to do, because part of me is like, well, just lower the difficulty and maybe you can get by. And then the other part of me is like, that's kind of cheating, and maybe I should try upgrading the shields and weapons on my ship, because I have a lot of money. I could probably buy new parts and upgrade my ship, and maybe with better shields and weapons I would do better. I don't know. It's probably going to end up having to be a combination of both, because if I do go through the trouble of upgrading the ship, I probably will still fail, but later. After 3 or 4 ships, I'll fail. And then I'll have to lower the difficulty anyway, but whatever. Because there was a night in the middle of the week where I was I had a little extra time, and I was like, I guess I could try Starfield. And I was like, no, because I don't want to deal with the space combat. You know what, let's just play Rock Band. I'll play a few songs in Rock Band. We'll call it a day. But when I went to play a few songs Rock Band, I saw in the main menu, I saw the Rocky Drama mode, and I was like, oh, I haven't tried that yet. Because there's the Rivals thing, but I'm not doing that because I don't know anyone else who's playing Rock Band right now, and I'm also not good at Rock Band. I do it for fun. So if I was to challenge people, I would lose because I'm not as skilled as other people. So I said, let me try the Rocky Drama mode. And what that is basically, it's a fake behind the music type show where they have a bunch of actors and actresses talking about your band, without mentioning its name, obviously, because they can't. Mine's Chimps Ahoy, by the way. And so you have this Rocky Drama thing, and it's a documentary about behind the music where it's this is how they got their start, and this is how they fell apart, and this is whatever. And I don't know the whatever parts, because basically I only did the first part, because you're playing at this grungy arcade, and after your 3 songs you get a fan, one guy in the audience applauding for you. That's it. And I don't know if I had been playing with friends and a full band, if we would have gotten enough points to move on to the next level, because you do the songs, and as you earn stars on the songs, that gives you fame. And I think if you play with more people or on harder difficulty, you'll get more fame, and then, because you need a certain amount of fame to get to the next section of the documentary. So I only got like, I think halfway, and so I'd have to do another 3 songs, and then I'd get more documentary. But it's fun, it's cute. I haven't been able to go back to it yet though, because it's hard for me to play Rock Band because my husband is very often working. So it's hard in a small apartment to play things like Rock Band, even the guitar, which is relatively quiet, and not like, be a bother. So it's hard. So like I said, I've been playing more Disney and Nikki. I actually played a lot of Disney because I saw that there is a new update coming with Alice in Wonderland, which I'm like, you just had an update. Except what I'm realizing, I'm like, I thought there was time in between the updates, but now I'm realizing that it's just that I finished the updates a few weeks early. So I feel like there's a few weeks in between updates, but there kind of isn't. There is kind of just a week or so. So there's a new update coming with new characters and a new star path, and I'm like, crap, now I'm going to be all busy with Disney again. But I realized, I'm like, I still haven't finished Aladdin and Jasmine's friendship quests. I've gotten them up to like level 9 now, but I'm probably not going to get them to 10 before the update happens. I did, on the plus side, finally get around to giving Pumbaa enough gifts to get him to level 10, like Timon, and then once they're both at level 10, it's a joint friendship quest, which I was able to complete and finish their friendship quests. It was a whole thing with like bugs invading the valley. It was really gross, but they're done. So now I have to do Jasmine and Aladdin, but I've also got Alice in Wonderland showing up, so it never ends. It's an ongoing forever game. But I had been playing a little more of that, but I have, over the past week, I was really focused on Infinity Nikki. Because like I said last week, I got to the end of the story, but I had to craft the outfit, but I couldn't craft the outfit because I had to go and get the Sovereign medals because I hadn't been doing the styling challenges all the way through the game like I probably should have been. And I know last episode I mentioned that I thought this was going to be a lot of annoying grinding. Thankfully it was not. Basically, I decided I would upgrade one of each outfit, like, one cool, one fresh, one sweet, one sexy, one elegant. Well, my elegant was already glowed up and completely done. So I just took the other ones and I made sure they were like leveled up as much as possible. And it helped because last week they had a special limited time offer where there's a place you can go and exchange like crap that you've collected, like plants and flowers and bugs and whatever. If you have a lot of them, you can exchange them for upgrade materials. And last week, they were giving you 2 times the upgrade materials when you exchange, up to a certain level. So I did that every day. I would go and I would exchange everything so that I would get tons and tons and tons and tons of bubbles, because that's what I needed to upgrade my outfits. And I was actually able to, last week, upgrade all of my outfits to level 10, and then I was able to glow up all but one of them. I did not have enough sexy bubbles, but it was fine, because I basically went through and I did the Stonewoods, and I was concerned that like you had to have the category and the subcategory, but I was able to kind of brute force my way through it, and I beat them, and then I beat the Sovereign of Sexy even though I wasn't glowed up. And then I went to the Wishing Woods to do a ton of styling challenges to get myself to the Sovereign of Fresh. And there it was weird because I'm using all my glowed up outfits, and sometimes I would have a perfect rating and then other times I would get like great. And I'm like, I don't know what the difference is. I know that everything has different point levels and there's different ways to arrange things and whatever. And I'm sure that there are items that I could, level up that would get me more points than that accessory, or, like, oh, this hat would do better than that hat or something. But I'm not mixing and matching. I'm just doing the outfit. It's just easier. So some of them I had a perfect score, some I had a great score, whatever. And when I finally worked my way all the way to the Sovereign of Fresh, Because I was like, I don't care if I don't get it perfect. Before, I cared and I wanted to get it perfect, but now I'm like, I've got my outfit, it's completely leveled up, I don't know how to do any better. So I'll move on. And I got to the Savannah Fresh, did the styling challenge, and it was fresh or elegant, and my elegant outfit had more points than the fresh one when I looked at them on the list. So I said, let me go with the elegant outfit. And I only got an average score, but that was enough to finish. And they said, okay, great, here's your medal. Thank you for helping. And, you know, obviously I could get more rewards if I went back to do it perfectly. But all I wanted was that medal so that I could then go and craft the Wishful Arosa outfit and then go and finish the game. And you go, and with that outfit, you go around and you save all the coma victims, and there's this whole big long cutscene and everyone's celebrating. It's yay, we're all happy now. But then the game, there's no credits. I was like expecting credits and everything, and there's no credits. Like the game keeps going. And it's like, okay, here's a bunch more little quests to do. One of which was to go and free the human prisoners that were being held prisoner this whole time for 15 years. They've been stuck in these little cages. So you free them, and then there was this weird thing where like Nikki has like some kind of episode, and then like now there's like all these dark Esslings like forming in different locations, and you have to go and take care of that. And I'm like, okay, so the game isn't over. That wasn't the end. Now there's more stuff to do. Because there was also a whole thing where Dada at the Stylist Guild was like, oh, let me explain to you, like, Wishfield is part of Mirrorland, and Mirrorland is part of this whole big, you know, this is the origin of our realms, and there's all these different realms, and there's like a futuristic one, and like a medieval one, and I think a pirate one or something, I don't know. There were like 5 or 6 different, they got split up into all these different realms, and I'm like, is this setting up like future games or something? Like, what happens? I don't understand. Like, it didn't amount to anything. It was just like, here's a cutscene where I talk about the history of the universe and the different realms that you can't access right now, but maybe someday you can. I don't know. It isn't clear, but I crafted the miracle outfit and I finished the main storyline, but it keeps going. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I thought I could like ease back on it and just play it when they had the events, but alas, I am still working on quests and there's still stuff to do. So this also appears to be another game that will just never end, and I will just play it forever and ever. We shall see. So come back next episode. I've rambled way too long. Come back next episode and see if I've been able to finish Nikki again, or if it's just still going and going. Energizer Bunny of video games. Bye!